Hello, my friends at Triple Threat Trading. Omar here with your weekly outlook for February 9th, 2015. What an interesting week last week was. NFP week, as always, can bring some interesting markets. We had basically some very choppy dead markets, which is pretty, it's pretty common. It's also common to have big weeks during NFP. Just depends on the week. Of course, when you look at this chart of gold on the weekly, you think, oh man, gold did have a big week. Except that when you look at when it happened, it's one of those "are you kidding me" situations. So when we last left off, I was in that short on Thursday, and I said I'm going to try to get out at break even or a little better. It did. It got back down to break even, and I got out for a few pips. It went actually pretty well to the next support and resistance, but then on Friday, and I'm sure everybody's seen this, especially those of you who are little rebellious traders and trade on Friday, especially NFP Friday, saw this happened. And this is just absolutely incredible to me. You just dropped off almost 400 pips. And there's our 400 pip day that we used to actually get with pretty good regularity, at least once or twice a month in gold. And it's it's been a while since we've had that kind of gold movement during the month. I used to be able to almost set my watch by it. If you haven't gotten at least one good 400 pip day in the middle of the week, you should be looking out for one because the month might be coming up soon. It used to happen a couple times a month, um, and just recently we've had much kind of different gold markets. So they won't always be like this, and we won't always get these weird moves where we get our big move in the Asian session, we get our big move on Friday. I don't know why this is occurring, but because I'm somebody who doesn't take things lying down, and this is not the first time we've seen this happen on an NFP Friday for the last several months. So what I'm going to be doing is we'll call it the advanced scouting team. For the next couple NFPs, anybody who wants to get in and actually trade the NFP with me. Of course, we're not going to do it by putting in a trade before NFP drops. Obviously, we're gonna have a slightly different approach than that. But you can see even if we entered after the first candle, and we're gonna kind of have to break some rules with it, because you can see this first candle is over 200 pips, right? And normally we would never take an entry like that, but it broke below 1250. And it was a strong move after a lot of consolidation. We actually broke beautifully away from the Dynafibs, and there was still almost 200 pips left in the move with almost no drawdown after that. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is on next NFP we are going to be trading gold, and we'll take maybe one select index and possibly oil as well, and we will attempt to trade it. I don't recommend, because this is why I'm calling it an advanced scouting team. I don't recommend doing it on your live account, but if you have a good demo account running, we can start maybe coming up with some NFP type rules to give ourselves the option of trading that big news event. I'm also considering doing this on FOMC as well. So my normal live trading will remain unchanged throughout the week, especially through FOMC and NFP weeks, that I will be out of the market before those news announcements. But we might as well see if we can tackle these kind of moves, because they're not, you know, the last few NFPs, they haven't been, up and down choppy. They've been breakout and then go. So we can always try to see if we can get a handle on that using the system. It does kind of break away from the normal trading rules, and it's not an excuse to go gung ho. But if anybody's interested in doing it, I will set a webinar for the next FOMC. We'll see, how many of you really want to do it. And what we'll do is we'll, maybe get in 30 minutes before NFP and maybe run like an hour and a half webinar, and see if we can't catch a trade out of it. Again, demo only, but so that's just something to think about for next NFP, because it is, and I agree, it is frustrating to sit and get pained over the market day after day after day, and then the day you responsibly take off of trading, the market moves 400 pips in a straight line. That obviously is, just as frustrating to me as it is to you. So I'm not worried about it because I don't, obviously I don't depend on one day out of the week or one day out of the month, yeah, it's to do my trading. But if there's something that we can do to be more engaged in the market, or maybe have a deeper understanding of what's going on, I'm all for it. So something to think about. We'll do it for March NFP. Anyway, let's get to this week and see what's going on. It's a shame now that we didn't see that as a bearish engulfing candle after all the prior week. I did make 2 trades short on gold, or was it 3? Yeah, because there was another one that I got out. Yeah, so I made 3 trades. The first small loser, the good winner, and then a little better than break even. They were, the break even and the win were short, and the loss was long. So it's kind of indicative of the way the market has gone. Interestingly enough, it looks like we've really have rejected that smaller trend line that we found. So we will be looking bearish at the moment, probably until we get back down to our key area of 1175 or lower. And so we'll just consider the overall trend at the moment to be bearish. It does fit with the larger trend, and so that's kind of the position we've got to take until the market tells us otherwise. Looking at price, we're actually at a pretty nice little point here. 1242 to 1227.28. Remember, it's a pretty big area, and so if we can find good rejections from 1242 and take profit at 1227.28, it makes a lot of sense to do that. Obviously, after the big move on Friday, our indicators are going to be a little bit off kilter. You can see that once again, the Momentum Master System did call a good trade. It was a bearish shadow candle with a bearish breakout candle, and it did move on. And you can see it was a really nice breakaway from the trading bands. But of course, during the normal course of our trading, we do not trade candles that big. But because it was an NFP, you can kind of expect a little more juice out of the move sometimes. And so essentially what we're looking for in gold is that we are going to be looking for a better pullback to the trading bands, and then obviously for a standard setup, we need that refresh. Looking at the Fibmaster, we can use 1242 as an area to bounce off of for a PFT short if you don't get a really full refresh, or we can use 1250 as well, which is a good midterm fib. So we'll be looking for short trades until the market tells us differently. Looking at the FTSE was not really heavily affected by NFP. After kind of a lackluster week of pretty choppy trading, we just kind of bounced around on Friday a little bit. Once again, we're back on the underneath side of of our Dynafibs, and that says bearish. But really, when we look at price action overall, we don't really see much more than a bit of bouncing. So for the moment, with the FTSE, I say the safe play is just to leave it alone. And what we're really looking for is a breakout of our bigger areas. So we want to break out of essentially this range that we've been in, which goes down to about 6,700 on the bottom end, and 68.75 on the top end. So once we get a really good breakout from either of those areas, then we can start thinking about getting back into good FTSE trades. Of course, in the meantime, you of course can still take your day-to-day FTSE positions for smaller gains, but just make sure that you are trading this rather aggressively, working with PFT or standard setups, because I don't really see that it is driving in any direction or another, and that is completely normal. Now, when we look at the higher time frame, like the daily, you can see that it's clearly at the moment in a bit of a consolidation. So we had that drive, we bounced back, you got a little consolidation, tried to push down a couple more times, and then shot back up. We're consolidating. I imagine the next move will come as a breakout from that consolidation. So while we are waiting for that, if you want to play it safe, just kind of avoid the FTSE at the moment. Looking at the DAX, let's see here. Never really got anything going. There was a good PFT setup on Thursday. I think I was a little bit late for it. How much did it go? I got about 22 pips before it flatlined out. Although it was pretty late. It was pretty late in the day. The DAX has been bouncing a bit too because again it's broken up into some very high territory. You can see here from the 4-hour we have become a bit extended away from our Dynafibs, and so we always kind of expect to get back to that. On the 1-hour we have finally pulled back to them. I am still bullish the DAX until the market tells me otherwise, and I still think this is tradable because it normally, gives us a bigger daily range to play with. But considering that we're not really strong trending right now, what we have to make sure is if we are taking positions, you're doing it as either Asian Traders 5-minute setup, which is still working very well, or if you are trading from the 1-hour, make sure that you have a really good setup. Do not take marginal setups. If you have any doubt about it, it's probably not the trade to take on the DAX at the moment. There definitely are times when the DAX is moving nice and strong that, well, it's basically moving bullish. If I get a decent signal, I can probably catch it and ride it to profit. But at the moment, I would just be very, very careful. I'm not opposed to taking short trades under, we have enough distance between the midterm fib and the Dynafibs. I would be happy to take PFT style trades off of super convergence zone or Dynafibs, but make sure they're really solid setups. Looking at the Dow, again, the Dow was not very affected by NFP. Thursday was the much bigger move. It continued to race up, and each time it broke through the support and resistance, we had the Walton special, and it just pulled back and then took off. And you can see each and every time it broke through, it came right back to the midterm fib and then moved up again. And so when we, when we're kind of seeing this movement for, we had a nice move up, sideways break up, move up, and we're kind of had a nice little trend for the week going. It's a little safer environment to do that. But remember, as I talked about in my post last week, I only recommend that style of trading with triple threat if you're already very comfortable with the standard setup and a PFT approach. Clearly, it's nice to see the Dow back on the positive side along with the DAX, and overall the FTSE has been. So all the stock markets are generally trading the same again. We'll just have to make sure that we're taking quality signals from good areas of support and resistance. Let the day dictate what kind of day it's going to be until we can maybe break into another good trend again. You can see here on the daily for the Dow that we've been chopping around essentially all year. Even though we've had some pretty good sweeps up and down, again, we do not have what we would call a trend going. So our moves have to be a little bit more aggressive, and we have to be a little bit more nimble as far as which side of the day which side of the ball we're going to be trading on for the day. Yeah, oil was a real showstopper. There was a good bullish trade on oil on Thursday, and even depending on where you caught it, if you took the very early entry because it was a good breakout on the Fibmaster, you got a bit more. But even if you took the more confirmed entry here, it was still good. And so it does look like it's on a bit of a rise. Whether this is an overall longer, higher time frame kind of pullback. Remember, we don't stay away from the Dynafibs forever, and so where the Dynafibs are right now is at around the bigger term midterm fib of 62.50. That could just be a pullback before a further move south. But because oil's moves tend, even for those kind of pullbacks, tend to be pretty big moves, we can certainly trade this long all the way up there. We don't have to be concerned about what's going to happen 2, 3, 4 months from now. We can just be concerned with what's going to happen 2, 3, 4 days from now. So at the moment, I'll be bullish on oil and look for good signals, good rejections from our areas for resistance. Remember, one thing with oil, it's good not to take trades out of a sideways market where we have to make sure that we're getting some price action before we get into any trades. And so I have very high hopes for this week. NFP is behind us, and I think we're going to do really well. I hope everybody out there has a great week, and I will see you in the webinars. Oh, and speaking of webinars, we are indeed going to do our Asian session webinar this week, a couple hours after where we did it for the last 4 weeks. So it will be, let's see, we did it 30 minutes after Tokyo. So it'll be 2.5 hours after Tokyo Open. Of course, the times will be there, and I'll make sure that in the outlooks for Wednesday, the signups will be there. I wish everybody the best. Have a great week of trading.